like remember and you can tell me afterwards, so I can still work on it and make it better or longer or anything. So yeah. Woo! Grab some popcorn, drink for inside so that you can keep yourself happy while watching.
Africa at large, most of the things that we go through in life is full of music. When a baby is born, he makes a sound.
I'm just the side dressing here. What we're going to do is have a little bit of a Q&A. And I'm going to ask a few questions, just start it off a little bit, and then, of course, feel free to ask what you'd liked from this lovely lady about this lovely documentary.
Sure.
So you had a corporate job at one point, right? You worked at a company here, a big travel company slash
Nobody
app
knows
company.
which one.
You had a nice salary. You got a monthly salary. Why did you quit your job and go to Africa?
I was not ready for these questions. You didn't tell me anything that you asked.
Well, that's
okay, so I'm just
it's
gonna
on your
improvise.
Instagram
Cool.
already.
Yes, I did have a corporate job. I might have some former colleagues here as well. I worked at Booking.com for about 3 years while I was still dancing and having this passion for dance. And at some point I realized that if I don't do it now, like when else is going to be a better time? So I just decided to leave and to make this trip and create something that I hope that more people will enjoy. So that's what I did, yeah.
Nice. Okay. So I've got 2 more questions before we open it up to the audience. You said you decided, if not now, when? How did you? So you came to that decision. How did you prep? How did you push the button and say, I book the flights, I choose 3 African countries? What were the cogs going on in your head to decide which countries to go to and when to pull the trigger?
Okay, so about when to pull the trigger, I never really had a break in like my studies. Like a lot of people go for a gap year, they start traveling for a year, they try to figure out what they want to do in life. I really went from my high school to my bachelor's to my master's to first job, second job, and I never really had a pause. So I really felt like I needed that. So that was the timing trigger. And then when I was choosing where to go, I have been to Ghana a year prior to this trip for I was working in an orphanage, and I fell in love with it. So the West African countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast were like, for Ivory Coast, about Coupe de Calais, which is the main dance style there, I was really fascinated by it and I wanted to learn it as well. So that was a must go. Even though it's a French speaking country, I was so lost. I was going with my phone trying to talk to people. I speak no French. I hope the subtitles there are right. So those 2 were like a must go. In Ghana, I already knew some people, so it was nice to come back to a place that I was familiar with. And then I wanted to bring more diversity to the movie. So if I have West African countries, I wanted to have something from the East as well. Even though like flying within Africa is crazy expensive, like from Kenya to Ghana, it's horrible. But I really wanted to make sure that I cover like more than just the western part. So Uganda and Kenya just sounded reasonable. and I did some research. Like every place that I went to, I made sure that I know some dancers there. So I knew that the dancing is pretty good in both of these places. So that's how I chose the dancers.
And last question from me before we open it up to the audience. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult did you find it traveling around Africa and filming people in Africa and getting them to open up?
Getting them to open up is easy. Like people just like to talk, so that wasn't really a problem. The safety was a little bit of a problem. I had a nice camera in Uganda and a lot of footage on it already when I got robbed by a guy with a machete, so that was not fun. So I actually lost a lot of nice footage. That was like 2 weeks in my trip. So then it was a lot of hassle. I was like, okay, am I gonna like not continue with this, or am I gonna look for a new camera? Everything is 3 times more expensive there than here in Europe. Alice, big thank you, because she actually managed to buy a camera here for me and find a girl that was coming to Ghana. So I somehow actually got a new camera and continued the whole thing. So yeah, it was not easy. Also, like illustration shots, it was very hard. I had to find someone local who would walk with me and like under a jacket try to like take some footage, because people really don't like to be taken videos of, or if then they ask you money. So those were some of the hurdles. Yeah, safety and like the illustration shots. But for interviews, it was lovely. Like people just really are open and warm-hearted, and they want to talk. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, so you have to cut it out. But like they still like to talk, so that was a good thing for sure.
Nice, awesome. So 1 to 10.
1 to 10, how difficult it was?
Yeah.
7.5.
7.5. Okay, so right at the top end. Okay. Nice. So now we can open it up to the audience. Let's see, we've got a question from Saskia.
Yes. So the main question in your movie was about appropriation of African dance styles, and do you feel that you have a fulfilling answer to this question?
I think I do, and I started noticing it really like every time I talk to someone, they would always emphasize the fact that you have to be really in the culture, you have to eat with the people, you have to sleep like you have to be around them. How did I get here? So you really need to like get into the culture and get to know them and show interest in not only learning the moves, because the moves might be easy and might look fancy and nice and you look good when you do them, but if you don't know where it comes from, first, you will never have the expression and the feeling, I think. And second, yeah, exactly as Brooklyn Terry said, like, you cannot have the Q&A at the end of your class. Like, if someone comes to me and asks me, like, okay, where does this move come from? Or this one? It's because there is, in Uganda, there is a tribe of people that are, like, cattle people. They have cows, and they are trying to imitate the horns. So that's the way they dance. So, like, really everything has a meaning. And I was not used to it, like, dancing, even hip-hop and house, like, these steps, they have names, but I don't really always know, like, why is pare pure, like, it doesn't have such a deep meaning. So yeah, that was I think the biggest learning, like, that you really need to research, and it's not easy, as also Walter was saying. You have to talk to people, because it's not really online, it's not really in a book. Like, you really need to go there and talk to people to find out about it.
So you also encourage your students when you are teaching Afro to go
100%,
to Africa?
100%. It's almost a must.
Yeah. I have another question.
Jesus, bro.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I'll go over there, then we'll go.
No, just go ahead. Go ahead.
No, she has a
No,
question.
go ahead.
He goes there too first.
I saw that hand, and then I saw that hand. We'll go there, and then we'll go to you. Yeah. So your question.
My question is more about the organization of the trip, because in the video we see so many amazing dancers, and you mentioned you know some of them, but how do you identify these people, and how do you get in contact with them, and just make sure that you know they'll be there and they will teach you?
Yeah. So social media definitely helps a lot, but I also learned that like, you don't want to talk to those that are just learning or like really dancing on the street and don't really have a deep knowledge about the dance, but you also don't want to talk to the celebrities of the particular country, because they will always be busy. They will charge you just for like 5 minutes of talk, and like there are levels. So I found out that like if you talk to like the middle kind of group of people, like really good dancers but still humble and willing to share, that for me was a way to go. And how I found them, mostly Instagram, Facebook. Luckily, like I know there's a girl, Denisa from Slovakia. She's been to some of these countries before, so she connected me with dancers that she met there. And I also like partying, so if you go out, you meet people, and they introduce you to more people. So I made sure that everywhere I went, I stayed at least like 2-3 weeks, so that you get to go to the local places and meet the local people.
So you do like your research before?
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes you just go and do like
everywhere I went, I knew some people. Like, I never went to a country where I was like, okay, what now? Like, of course, you get to know more people as you are there, but I made sure that I have at least 2, 3 main contacts.
I wondered how much fun did you have?
I
Because
would
I mean,
go
the
back
7.5
anytime.
is a bit like okay, that's the. But how much?
I had so much fun. I had really, like, even though some bad things happened, like the robbery, I still, Kampala in Uganda, if you ever want to party 24/7 and 7 weeks, days a week, please go to Kampala. It's not
I'm going
Ibiza
in
that's
2
the
weeks,
party
so
place, it's
give me
Kampala.
some good addresses.
Yes, seriously, like, everyone that I spoke to was like, yes, like, East African, Ugandans, Kampala, that's the place to go to party. It's ridiculous. It's like Monday evening and there is a pool full of like people partying and a DJ. I had a lot of fun.
Great.
One in the back of
Yes.
it, and then
So
you,
I've
and then
Yes.
So I'm wondering like how you feel about the Dutch Afro dance scene and especially then the teachers. How do you feel about them and how would you see maybe your documentary or influence them or in a positive way
Yeah.
to take it on?
Yeah.
Do you
It's a good one. I take it a bit more general because there's also one more thing that I learned, and that is, so Brooklyn Terry, the guy with the glasses, he's American. He's never been to Africa, but he has so much to talk about it, which is great. But one thing I learned is that if someone has a problem with white people dancing African dances, it's usually not the Africans in Africa. It would be probably African Americans or Africans living in Europe who maybe never even been there, but they feel strongly connected to the place that's to their roots. And I'm not sure if it's also the case for the Dutch African dancers. I know some of them, and I think they teach good classes, and they're like spreading the right knowledge. What was the question? If it can help
So-
them?
Yes, if you would like what would
What role could your movie have for Dutch
Yeah.
Afro dance?
Yeah.
yeah, like how
Okay, yeah. I
what
think,
what is there to be changed within
Yeah.
them to give like because it starts with the teachers
exactly.
to educate their students.
Okay, I think I understand. So even though I like them and I follow their classes and I learn a lot, most of the time the class looks like this. You come, you learn a choreography, you look good, you film it, you post it, and you're happy about it. Next day you forget about it. If they really want to have impact and be like branches in Europe or in the Netherlands for African dance styles and not spreading it, I think they should also focus a bit more on the history and on the traditions. And if honestly, I'm pretty sure if I asked someone after the class, like, can you tell me the name of this step and where it comes from? Probably they don't know either. So
They don't. Okay, yeah.
So I would say that, again, focusing more, as in the beginning, what Corby was saying, like all these fancy dance styles come from the traditional ones. I think we tend to forget about it and just focus on
It's a
the
shortcut.
aesthetic part of it. Yeah, people love shortcuts. People love to like quick fix and learn something that's nice moving on. So digging deeper and
Yeah, but
understanding
it is
the history.
in this question.
Yes.
Related to my question as well. I wanted to ask more about the culture because, as you said, we never say European dance, but we say African dance.
Yeah.
And obviously, the roots are in different countries. So, how different did you find the different countries you traveled to? How different the dance is? And like, should we start calling it more like Ugandan dance, or rather
Yeah.
than just Africa as a whole?
There's actually a big discussion about this as well, and a lot of confusion. Afrobeat is actually not a dance style. People call it that. Even Africans in Africa call it Afrobeat. It's a music genre that comes from Fela Kuti that sounds nothing like what you saw in this movie. So for some reason people like to put labels on things and put them in boxes, and it makes it easier to understand, and it's a big marketing term, to be honest. So I use it as well, but I honestly think that if we want to like preserve the different styles, like Coupe de Calais is from Ivory Coast, Azonto is from Ghana, then even the classes when someone teaches African dance shouldn't be Afrobeats. It should be, okay, I'm really focusing on this one style and I'm going to teach you Coupe de Calais. But as also Alban from Ivory Coast was saying, like, he likes to put things and mix things together, and you put a few steps from that style, a few steps from that style, and you call it a fusion. So it's a difficult question. I think the original styles deserve some recognition and should be named and should be explained properly. But I don't have really anything against mixing them, as long as you make it clear and you explain it and you make sure that people get the right terminology as well.
Was the dance culture really different in each country? Like,
yes. So the Afrobeats, the African dance, the modern African dance is really popular now. It's really booming. Like, you can see it in a lot of like media, and I think that people in those countries that I went to recognize the popularity of it, so everybody's trying to do it and try to also name it that way and adapt to it so that they can have more views on Instagram and etc. So it's a trend that I'm not sure is good or bad, because they are like veering away from sticking to the traditions. And then if you speak to the elderly people, they also think that it's not a good thing, that you should be doing the traditional dances and naming them a certain way. But you cannot really stop the evolution. Like, every dance also evolves, right? So it's a deep question.
Giovanni, and then
First of all, I do not have any dance background, so this was very informative. Like, I just want to say it's really well made, it's really honest, and like the different points of view and everything, and just the shots, probably the illustrative shots, they're beautiful. Super excited. I want to know, what was your biggest learning making this, and not just the trip, but also the video after looking back on the experience, and as you embark on new adventures, what do you still want to learn?
Oh. So biggest learning. Should I be really honest? Okay, my biggest learning is to work with people that are really reliable and responsible and timely. What's the word? You're English native. Yes. That's when it comes to like the post-production. Because as much as I can prepare everything and make sure that it makes sense and I pick the right things, like, I wasn't the one putting it together. So that was a big learning. What do I want to learn? So I'm going on another trip next Wednesday. I'm going to go to LA, Mexico, Cuba, and Jamaica. And I actually don't have a plan to make another movie. It might come. Still, I might get inspired.
Please do.
What advice would you give individuals from Europe going to Africa in the future about how to stay authentic to their true selves? Because one thing that keeps happening is when they go to Africa, they tend to change their ways. And so, say for instance, I'm from UK, but I'm Ghanian. Of course, I go every year since I was born. But when my white counterparts go to Ghana, they instantly change and they forget their whiteness. This is one key thing that a lot of Africans, we respect, that you respect yourself first and then you come into our society and respect us. But people tend to come into our society and lose their past selves. Then when they come back to Europe, they are African white women, if you see where I'm coming from. So what advice would you give the up-and-coming new generation that are going to Africa in terms of how do you stay authentic, how do you keep your true self? So, if you ask somebody, oh, where are you from? Oh, from Germany. Oh, don't say that. I don't want to be known as German. I've met, when I lived in Munich, I know so many people. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah. So how would you explain to someone, oh, it's good being who you are, respect where you are from, but also respect where you are going?
Yeah, it's a really good one. So from my experience, wherever I went to, as much as I like to learn about their culture, and it makes sense because I am there, they also love to learn about mine, right? Because I don't know how many people from Slovakia go to these countries. I don't think many. So I feel like I would rob them of the opportunity to learn something if I was pretending I'm someone else. Or of course I want to blend in, and I don't want to. Well, it's kind of hard to blend in, but in the way that I talk, and I can eat fufu, and I can just try to adapt the African tradition, but still, it's an exchange. It's energy exchange, and it's also information exchange. So I was so surprised, for example, like in Uganda, most people would know where Slovakia is. Sometimes I speak to Dutch people and they're like, Slovenia, Czechoslovakia? I don't know. So like, I feel it's really, it's almost like a mission. If I go there, I have to spread what I have, what I know. And it's not only about my culture, it's whatever. Like if I know something about marketing, I'm going to teach him so maybe he can market his video better. Or so, yeah, I would see it more in that way. So if I should advise someone, then I would say try to be more giving and less taking. So of course I go there because I want to learn and I want to take something from the place and from the people, learn something, but it's mutual. So like give as much as you can and don't pretend to be someone else. Just like be yourself. Yeah.
You got a question?
Yes, I really like the deeper discussions that are going on now, but I actually have a more practical question, and that's like, did you prepare really your history before making this documentary? And of course, it will change during filming and everything. And did you do the editing by yourself?
If I prepare the story, I kind of had a direction, but it wasn't very set in stone or rigid. Because I also like to keep things flexible. If someone starts to telling me their amazing life story, maybe I would make the whole documentary about that. You know, so because I was going into unknown, I didn't want to follow like very rigid rules. But I did know that I wanted to be about the cultural appropriation and dance, and it's also a personal story. Like I am the white girl going there doing all these things. What do they think about it? So I was honestly and really curious about these opinions. And as I was interviewing them, then it started to make sense. Like some people think that it's not okay, some people are offended, some people think that you just need to learn, some people are encouraging. So then it started to fall into places in like different chapters in which like you have the conflicting people, then you have people who are encouraging you. So I think the full storyline only became clear when I had all the footage. So that's one part, and the other part was...
Did you do the editing?
No, I didn't. I just really like, I have a mental memory of everything that I shot, and I put minute by minute when I want to have what and how. But I didn't do it myself. That would take a long time.
We got a question over there. Does anyone else have?
Yeah, in the documentary it also mentioned that it has some ceremonial background, weddings or after civilization or something like that. How do you think, and maybe also the people that you've been talking to, that it has been changed into a performance instead of this ceremonial dance?
I think that's again about the topic of traditional versus modern dances. These things are still happening, but they are not very visible on Instagram or for us, right? So in most places, even, okay, I was mostly in the capital city of all these different countries, so you can have internet, but these traditional dances and like the spiritual dances, they often happen in the villages and in the rural areas where no one's filming it. It's really a celebration, something that is really hard to witness, and I think that's why it has little exposure, and it seems now like everybody's doing just the modern dances, which I think is because that's what we get fed with, like that's what we can see on social. I can stress pretty easily, and when I was there, I was so easygoing. Like nothing matters. The public transport, you never know when it comes. You never know like where exactly it's gonna go. It might drop you there, it might drop you there. So what? You're gonna be an hour late. Everybody understands because you had no other way of getting there. So the sense of time is kind of like non-existing, and that can be annoying if you want to get shit done. But it's also very relaxing and it puts you at ease, or at least it did to me. So
African
that's
time,
what I was-
it's called.
African time, exactly. Yeah, it can be annoying, but it can also be really beautiful. So I was definitely missing that when I came back, and the parties. Parties are here good, but it's different there.
What's your Ghanaian name?
Afia, because I was born on Friday. Based on the day that you're born, they give you a name. Yeah.
So they only have a few names then?
I guess, yeah. Every person is a coffee or Afia. No, I'm generalizing. I guess that. Okay.
Thank you
very much.